can handle the PSC, if you can handle USS.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. Welcome to the 2017 Student Government Debate for today, March 21st. My name is Jashawn, and along with me are Aline and Anaf. We are the Judicial Board, John Jay's Judicial Board, and we will be moderating today's debate. If anyone in the audience has any questions, Aline and Anaf will be passing around a notepad so you can write those down and we can address it at the end of the debate. This debate is timed, and Aline and Anaf, sitting to your left in the front, will be timekeeping. Aline will hold up a yellow paper indicating that candidates have 30 seconds left, and a pink paper to indicate that you're out of time or that you have run over your time. We will begin with opening statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their statements, and we would like each one of you to actually start with your name and the positions you are running for. Thank you, and we can now proceed.
Hello everyone, my name is Maria Jose Martinez. Everybody calls me MJ. I'm actually running for secretary position. I have consistently spent a lot of time on campus trying to become a student leader, by all means being a Sikh student, a proud Sikh student, being a student athlete, also becoming a member of the Student Community Service Council, and also becoming secretary of an essential service on campus. So I am hoping throughout the debate that you guys will get to know me and also will get to know you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria Jose.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to stay standing. Sitting, the opposite, because I have this shit in front of me. Hi, my name is Karen Argueta, and I am running to be your Secretary of Student Council as well. I'm an artist who loves Beyonce, marshmallows, and justice equally as much. And I want to be your next Secretary of Student Council purely because I believe that students deserve a direct and caring pathway to get their needs met. I want to be that pathway because John Jay was the only college that I ever applied to as a high school senior, destined for, higher education, because it was the only college that spoke a very specific message of that justice-based education that I think draws us all in. And it aligned with the greatest value I've ever had. I didn't think I could really love John Jay more until I met its students and until I started working with the Mock Trial Association, and I was encouraged to run to be their secretary. And since then, I've been elected to be the Mock Trial Secretary for 2 consecutive years, working with and serving the students of John Jay and having a hand in teaching them invaluable skills that many of them will use outside of that field and in their fields or anything that isn't even law-based. I'm also serving as the Chief of Staff of the Club Planning Committee, keeping meeting minutes, and along with Jazmin Awad, hearing the qualms of club executives. But my most passionate activity on campus is working with the Accessibility Department as a note taker, and as an examination proctor, and really ensuring that every student has their best chance at academic success. I want my message to be that I and this position will belong to you, belong to the students, and I want the students of John Jay to put me in a position where I can better aid them on a larger level, as I've been doing since, mock trial. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello there. So first of all, thank you all so much for coming. My name is Fatima Uruchi, and I'm running for Student Council President for the upcoming academic year. And currently I serve as one of your University Student Senate delegates. I've served in that position for the past 2 years. I know that I'm the best person to represent the people that I serve in this role. My goal is to aim to elevate the council to a new height of efficiency, advocacy, and involvement. My campaign focuses on 3 central points: restoring council's social capital and campus presence, enhancing council's political power and civic engagement, and fostering greater school spirit and student engagement on campus. So, like I said, for the past 2 years, I've served as John Jay's representative to the University Student Senate, which is the CUNY-wide version of Student Council. And because of this, I've had the opportunity to make real changes and do real advocacy for CUNY students across the board. I've been a public voice against tuition hikes and for tuition freeze, which was granted to CUNY this year after all of our efforts last year. I have testified on issues concerning college affordability and the need for further investment in student programs, scholarships, maintenance of the university, and better treatment of our faculty and staff. I've lobbied city and state elected officials on these issues as well, and a recent advertisement I shot with the Professional Staff Congress, the Professors Union, will be airing in Albany for the next 2 weeks to emphasize how important it is to invest in higher education, as the state is gearing up to vote on their yearly budget. Having had these experiences, I want to now bring what I've learned regarding event planning, strategizing, advocacy, and effective civic engagement back to Student Council and interweave all these things into our regular operations and functions. In the past, Council has not been very active on any of these fronts, and there needs to be a change. It is an important time to be a student leader, and there's no one better qualified to lead the next generation of leaders and shape the direction of Council than me. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jasmine Awad, and I'm running to be your next Student Council President. John Jay College truly is one of the only places students hope to be themselves, feel comfortable, stand up for their beliefs, and hope to receive support no matter what. We are facing some of the toughest times we have personally ever experienced, and the strength of our John Jay community when we stick together is certainly indescribable. We all can agree when I say people who are placed in any higher position have a lot of ability and possibility to create change. We should find our leaders to be honest, trustworthy, strong, and capable without any interference of the job they wish to hold, and I will not offer anything less. It's time to implement platforms and new ideas and new outlooks on Student Council. Actions speak louder than words, and that's what students should vote on. Throughout the debates, you'll see what I have done, what I have learned, and what I aspire to do in the future, all that was gained as simply a sophomore, as a representative for less than 1 year, not even 2 full semesters. You shouldn't count on quantity, but you should count on quality. Whether or not you are a part of a visible or invisible group on campus, I will be your voice and will make sure you are represented the same way that I have done for so many groups on campus this year. I have worked closely with all 4 of the current executives on Student Council, experience that very few can say they've had. I don't just claim to be passionate for students, I show that passion through my work. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melinda, and I am running as your Student Council Treasurer. I have been part of Student Council for the past 2 years, officially and unofficially, and when I finally became a junior representative for this academic year, I was so excited to be able to work with the council members and the exec board and just a bunch of students where we can come up with events and ideas so that we can each benefit what we host and what we provide. I'm also the treasurer of Socially Awkward, a club here at John Jay, which is basically a club about building a community of self-acceptance across John Jay campus. I'm also a peer success coach under students' academic success programs, and that is just basically helping students guide them throughout their academic journey. And last semester, I worked with freshman students, 2 freshman class, where I sat with each of them and discussed their goals and what they want to achieve during their academic year. And in this semester, I'm actually working with transfer students, which I'm really happy about because I'm a transfer myself, and most transfers are juniors. And they seem to be underrepresented here at John Jay, which we have been taking steps as council to further that with them, with their representation here. So I had this opportunity to talk to transfer who are juniors and come up with ideas and events so that they can feel more involved in the John Jay community.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Devin Lee. I'm a junior here at John Jay College, and this is actually my third year in student government, my second year sitting on the University Student Senate along with Fatima Uruchi. I'm running for vice president, and just to give you a little bit of a background, for the past 2 out of 3 years, I work closely with the vice presidents in the administrations, Faika Kabir, during my freshman year, and on the Committee on Student Representation with Kyra Roberts, who was our previous vice president. Again, there's a lot of experiences that I've had, and I want to focus on making sure that the diversity here in John Jay is all inclusive. And what that means is taking, ethnic groups, taking religious groups that we have here on campus, and also student groups that are usually not well represented. So when we talk about veterans, students who are parents, students who require the wellness center, students who might be on the verge of homelessness, these are all issues that I have tackled at some point within my 3 years. Someone at this table had mentioned the ability as a sophomore to make change. Well, during my sophomore year, I worked with Fatima Uruchi on the University Student Senate, and that plenary was able to stop tuition from being increased. This year, we're also facing many different obstacles to student rights, such as the Freedom of Expression Bill, critical cuts to a lot of student programs that we have here on campus, as well as capital budgets that aren't really being allocated correctly. So even as we speak, there are demonstrations and press conferences that are going on in support of our students. Here at John Jay, I really believe that taking action is a lot louder than just speaking to a bunch of students. And so what I've done is I made sure to create different committees here at John Jay, or at least try to push for that. So I hope that through this FAQ and this debate, you'll be able to hear a little bit more. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I really appreciate y'all coming out. This is my first time doing anything like this, and so this turnout is pretty amazing. My name is Stephen Pacheco, and I'll be running for Vice President of Student Council. And what intrigued me about the opportunity to do such a thing was a lot of the work that I do in the real world, grassroots organizing, as well as just, I also hosted an inaugural fellowship with the Vera Institute of Justice, as well as a current inaugural fellowship that I have with the David Rockefeller Fund. So I'm currently understanding the dichotomy of policy and politics at large in the greater society. And so speaking with different, peers around campus, it just kind of made sense that I bring my skill set to this position. And what my campaign is about, it's funny, Devin brings up inclusivity. And I was actually I was wrestling with the idea of mentioning this on a public platform, but it's public information, and I want to be as transparent as possible, and I want everybody in here to know that I actually have justice system involvement. And so when Devin listed out the different groups on campus, this is a group that gets left out, and I feel like that's probably one of the greatest shortcomings in an institution like John Jay. I mean, we're fierce advocates for justice, but it almost seems like, I'm not making any accusations, but the way we kind of maneuver in this space, it's almost as if, we're alluding to there's only one side of the coin when we refer to justice. And I'm confident that I'm sitting in a room full of students who know that's not the case. I know a lot of you in the crowd, so I can actually say that and be confident that I'm actually correct in what I'm saying. And so aside from inclusivity, I think we need a bit more of a challenging atmosphere on John Jay. And what I mean by that is amongst faculty, amongst staff, students, in a healthy fashion. But I think we need to open up the space and create a safer space where people feel like, this institution is here to serve me, whether you're here on a financial aid grant or your parents or you yourself are paying for it. The institution is here to serve you. However, in order for the institution to do that, you have to bring your best self to that institution, and that you'll hear more from me later on. Thank you.
Yes, you'll have the opportunity to finish those thoughts. Thank you all for sharing so much. Thank you.
The quickest one.
Yeah,
cool.
For sharing so much about yourself and having everyone be more open and knowing who you are in your positions. Now we'll try to start the general questions portion of the debate. There is a notepad going around, so if anyone in the audience have a question, can you please pass that around for me? Thank you. So each candidate, like before, will have 2 minutes to answer these questions. And if another candidate wishes to rebut your statement, they would have 1 minute. Our first question is for our presidential candidates. So Stephen and actually Fatim and Jasmine. What have you accomplished for John Jay students so far?
Does the order matter of who begins?
No, whoever wants to put themselves out there.
So as a sophomore representative, there are specific tasks that I've completed. The first one was what was value of to me was the importance of the student voice. And so I made sure to host 2 huge events called John Jay Speaks and Club Row Speaks. Club Row Speaks focused on the clubs and their issues that they had around the club campus life. And then John Jay Speaks was open to all students to feel comfortable to bring out their voices. At John Jay Speaks, a student brought up the concern about a lack of representation from Student Council for International Students, which is about 600 students on campus. Right after that event, I made sure to work very inclusively with the Secretary of Student Council, Kadeem Robinson, to add the international representatives on our charter. And because of that, there is a referenda going on that would allow more representation for them. And I would be hosting 1 event for them per semester and trying to put that culture into council. I've also worked very closely with the current vice president as his chief of staff and filled over 200 spots of 50 committees to make sure that the student voice was heard and that the students were prioritized on committees that affect them directly. I've also made sure to be a direct voice with students as the chair of the club planning committee and ensured that there would be more representation for their events where more students would attend the events, there would be more advertisement for their events, and that they would be able to have more collaborations together in regards to those events. I've also sat on UCASC and College Council, and on UCASC I brought up the A+ policy proposal, which I'll talk more about later on, because students don't have the opportunity to get an A+, they can only get an A as the highest grade, and I will be bringing back that proposal with stronger advocacy and support from the students. And at College Council and Town Hall, I don't just sit on those committees to vote yes or no, but I also represent the student voice by bringing up concerns where students are not well advocated for.
Thank you.
So you asked me what I've done for John Jay students thus far. Well, in my current elected position, I don't just represent John Jay students. I represent over 500,000 students that attend CUNY across the 25 campuses that make up CUNY. So everything that I do, every decision that I make, every time I go out there to rally, every time I go and shake hands with an elected official talking about, well, we need the DREAM Act to be passed this year because we need our undocumented students to get financial aid. Every time I do that, that's with John Jay students in mind and with all of CUNY in mind, because students' rights are important. I've gone to testify in front of the Board of Trustees on the issue of freedom of expression, which they tried to limit this year by creating this policy that would essentially stop students from really being expressive on campus. I've also testified on other issues as well, and as the chair of the CUNY-wide LGBTQIA task force, I drafted a legislative report for my chair concerning issues that are affecting students in terms of discrimination in the LGBTQ community, things that are still institutionalized at the university that need to be changed. And as a response to my legislative report, the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs released a statement that said that he would be working on changing these issues with me. So I know how to get to the heart of the administration to really make those changes that can affect students in their personal lives as well as their academic lives. As for what I've done internally at John Jay, I've served on the yearbook committee, I serve on the commencement committee. I do all of these things without actually being mandated to by the student government charter. I serve you guys by being in the office 4 hours a week, something that I'm also not mandated to do. And I created the standard for how University Student Senate members that follow me need to act in accordance with Student Council and USS to represent you all.
Thank you both so much. Our second question is for our secretary and treasurer candidates. If you would change one thing about student council, regardless of feasibility, what would you change? So we would start with Maria Jose, and we'll go.
Oh, I don't need the mic. Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Jose. You guys could call me MJ. One thing that I would love to change within the student council itself is the diversity. I personally feel that changing the diversity amongst all individuals so everyone can feel welcome. That's one of my main goals. I feel like a lot of people within student council don't really represent everyone. So I feel like a lot of groups are not represented within student council, so that will be my top priority. And also just to create a bridge between student council and other students, faculty and staff, and other organizations. And also for myself, just to learn from students, faculty, and staff, and also for them to learn about who I am and what I am about. So it's a vice versa thing. So that's basically it. And just for everyone and for myself to create a safe space where everybody feels comfortable, everybody feels safe, and they have the idea to express their feelings no matter how, when, or where. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was so good. Okay, so hi, for anyone who's like just tuning in to listen or watch on Facebook and stuff. My name is Karen Argueta, and I'm also running to be secretary. If feasibility wasn't a thing, honestly, the location of council. It's like far back and like in L2. When I was a freshman, I would get lost so many times just trying to go there. And it was just really so inconvenient. And when you talk about student representation and you talk about who represents you to the big important people, you need to know who those people are, and you need to be able to get them to them in a way that's like so much easier. So honestly, some arrows. Like, council's that way, like, over here. Yeah, honestly, spreading the word about it, making it more of a place that isn't a tucked away corner in the very back for only the people that are this or only the people that are this, would be honestly really awesome. And that is a catalyst for diversity, and that is a catalyst for more students and everyone in the school. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you both. Melinda?
If I could change one thing about student council, I would change the effectiveness of communication between executives and reps, as well as council as a whole and students. Because as council, we're supposed to work as a team. And it's not just the team within council, but within the whole student body, which means involving students, as Maria Jose said, to become more diverse. And I do think that we are a diverse council, let alone a diverse community here at John Jay. And once we improve all these communications, whether it has to do with talking in person or with emails, there's a whole better way to just connect with students. And of course, the improvement of the relationships between council and clubs. And not just like with faculty and students, but with clubs as well, because they come to us for money. They ask us for money for their budget, whether it gets passed or denied. And there are times when it has to be denied for whatever reason. And so it's more so of improvement rather than changes. Of course, we got to make changes on campus, but it's more to improve because council has done many great projects, whether people support it or not. But it's more of working together and improving this community so that everyone can feel more included on campus.
Thank you all so much. So our third question is for our vice presidential candidates. And I guess we can start with Stephen. Do you have any proposal for getting students more involved with what's going on in John Jay as a whole?
Well, I'm actually working on an event. Just for the record, my name is Stephen Pacheco again, running for Vice President, Student Council. And I'm actually working on an event right now. It's going to be a collaboration between UMI, Black Student Union, the Prisoner Reentry Institute, and College Initiative is underneath that umbrella. And it's going to be centered around the very thing that I opened with in terms of what my campaign and my whole political platform is based upon. And just, making a more coalesced environment for everybody. Everybody's talking about feeling welcome. Everybody's talking about diversity. And, I'm going to be quite frank, and this is not a challenge at anybody, but a lot of the times, not just people on this panel right here, but in general, when people speak to these things, it's very, very superficial, I've found. And so I constantly interrogate myself, and I try to figure out how can I really, really, answer to the call. And so this event is literally going to be centered around this slogan we have as a school, being fierce advocates for justice. I know that's been picked at so many times, but it's actually going to be done in a very tasteful and classy way. It's about inclusivity, and so we just want to build a bigger bridge between folks who plan to go into law enforcement and folks who have justice system involvement. And I tend to believe things fall on a spectrum. I'm still working out of some of these, decayed thoughts of saying yes and no, and there's no in between. And so I think there's a great opportunity here at John Jay for both parties to work together, and then in the process, it brings people who are even further marginalized in whatever respective way to kind of come to the forefront and feel more empowered. I want to give power back. Well, I want to help people find their liberation, because you can't liberate anybody, So I'm just here to speak for you and listen to you, and then, okay, I'll figure out how to make the necessary maneuvers to get things done. And so that's what I plan to do.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope that was a long enough 2 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Devin.
Hi, everyone. Again, for those viewing on streams, my name is Devin Lee, and I'm running for Vice President. If I had to choose one way that I would try and get students more involved, it would be the fact that I just came out of a meeting before this with the Department of External Affairs. And what we were talking about is John Jay goes on lobbying trips. They go to city district offices, they host events, and they go up to Albany. Why are students not involved? Why aren't students aware of this? And so our conversation was centered around how can we get students more involved and know what's going on? And so what I want to do is, like Stephen said, expand students' potentials. I don't believe that I'm giving them anything. I'm just trying to help them unlock and find their own potential. And so what this is going to be centered on is helping them become their own advocates for issues that affect them. So I've had the benefit and the privilege of going with the Malave Leadership Academy up to Albany. And those students are consisted of undocumented students, students who are international students, students who are below the poverty line, a massive amount of different student groups. And so I want to have them voice their concerns, not just with programs like the College Pipeline, even though that's amazing, but I mean student programs that we have here on campus, student groups that we have here on campus, to give them that chance to go up to elected officials like I have, that Fatima has, and go, hey, here's my story. I want to testify on how this affected me. And so that's going to open up a door to saying, hey, you want to get involved in the judicial branch, you want to get involved in the legislative branch, you want to have internships, you want to have externships or mentorships, jobs, careers, once you graduate, this is the way that you can do it. And giving them that chance to speak instead of me speaking for them.
Thank you. So we'll move on to our fourth question. This is for both our presidential and vice presidential candidates. What are your top priorities?
My top priority is always being present for the student first, above all things. Making students our priority is something that's most important in this school because the faculty and administration tend to lack in making us our priority, especially in regards to different committees where we need to have a say and we don't have one. During the last 2 weeks that we needed to get signatures for our referenda, which would make students feel more in a safe and culturally enriched school with gender-neutral terms, international and transfer representation, we also had to get signatures for our executive positions. And instead of only focusing on the position that I wanted to focus on, I also went out to get as many signatures as possible to make sure that the referenda had a chance of getting on the ballot, and made no excuses during those 2 weeks to not get those signatures, because it was the students that were most important to me rather than receiving this position. Also, something that might seem minuscule is, ever since the beginning of the year, I would monitor the non-affiliated John Jay Facebook pages of class of 2017, etc. And whenever a student had a concern or a question, I would instantly always comment on their posts to make sure that they knew the answer. I would search out the information if I couldn't, and I would let them feel welcome to message me whenever they needed to. And I haven't done this just because I wanted to make myself seem more well-known as a presidential candidate, but because I wanted them to truly feel like there was someone that was there for them who could answer their questions. And I want to make sure that we prioritize more projects within Student Council rather than events, to make sure that students have the opportunity to build their own networks and their own platforms by using Student Council funds. Sometimes students want to volunteer and want to be more enriching, but they can't because volunteering isn't good enough for them with the money that they need to support themselves and their families. And so programs like allowing them to outreach to communities and be a part of different type of groups and then get paid for it as well can really help those students, and we need to put them first, even if it's just a little.
Thank you.
Cool. So, what are my top priorities? Students have always been my top priority. It's why I do what I do. Again, I will reiterate for you guys my 3 central points of my platform, which is to restore council's social capital and campus presence, and enhance our political power and civic engagement, and foster our school spirit and our student engagement on campus. And each of these key things will add to the robust student engagement presence that we have on campus, and to the things that students can do if they know about them and want to do but just don't know about them. My top priority has always been the students from the get-go. Every time I go to my own plenary meetings, I've never missed a plenary meeting, and you can actually see my voting record if you'd like. I've always voted in favor of things that students need. And on campus, I've always lent a helping hand to the council, even though my charter doesn't say that I have to. I've gone out of my way to put time into my job that I'm not required to do. Serving 4 office hours every week that I'm not required to do, committees that I'm not required to do, but that I want to do because I feel that it's important as a representative of John Jay to the CUNY-wide community. I am as much in tune with what happens at Student Council and on our campus as possible. When I stepped into this position 2 years ago, I was completely excluded from everything that had to do with Student Council and student engagement on campus. And I worked really, really hard to change that dynamic in our office and to make sure that as a representative, I'm aware of all these things, because all these things have effects on our students. So my top priorities, again, are to increase the efficiency of our council, to impact more students on levels that we've already been doing, but to take it a step further.
Thank you.
So while I do agree with those priorities, I think that none of us should be sitting here if we didn't want to help students first and foremost. I think that what's really at question is, what are we going to do while we're in that office? And so I've been trying to plan around 5 main points. The first is to foster better relationships. That means foster better relationships with clubs, with our own students, with departments, with administration, and with student organizations that might not be present in a lot of the meetings and a lot of the talks that we have. And that also includes making sure that they're visible and at town hall meetings where they can express their concerns to administration. The other is making sure that we have a website. Student Council has a website on JSTOP, but it hasn't been updated. We only have social media, and that's only used once in a while. I want a website where not only can you subscribe, so we have our own listserv, which we don't have yet, but also have an FAQ question, have where we are, directories, everything that a student needs. And not only that, but when you click on your representatives, you can send them an email, set up an appointment right there and right then. It saves time, and it also saves energy for all of us, instead of going out to reach out to every single student by ourselves, to have them have access to us. The next thing is to increase efficiency in our departments. As you know, there are several cuts to a lot of tutoring centers, including the writing center, and therefore there's not enough people to work. Students can't get the assistance that they need, and therefore they might not do good in academics. And as students, whether we're sitting here at this table in council, on committees, as a club, or just a regular student, academics come first. And we need to make sure that the students can succeed so that when they get the degree, they can actually go out into the workforce and get a job. The last point that I really do want to express, other than obviously creating network and job opportunities, which I expressed before, and having students in the legislative process, is to focus on diversity. Again, there's a lot of student groups that are ignored on campus, and later throughout the debate, I'll definitely express what I have done for all the different student groups. But again, these are my 5 points that I really want to focus on next year, and that I'm focusing on right now.
Thank you.
I'm just going to repeat this again because we're on live stream. Shameless plug, Stephen Pacheco, Vice President, Student Council. I'm glad y'all laughing. Good, we all family here. So my three priorities are creating more awareness, and that's ambiguous on purpose, I'll expound. Creating a greater sense of accountability throughout the campus, not just, I know I'm student council, but there's ways you can leverage your influence and your position to go above and beyond just the group of people you're supposed to be leading. And lastly, bringing a sense of innovation. I think that I'm going to start with that last point. There's a great amount of innovation that takes place in John Jay already. However, it's not, there's not the necessary environment to where that can kind of like blossom up. And a lot of that that's not to the fault of anybody else's. It has to do with relatability, being able to understand the people you're talking to. If you're in a position of power, you have to kind of put yourself in the shoes of the people that you're representing, and not just in a sense of, okay, these are the things that they need, this is what I'm going to give them. It's like, no, what have they not thought that they need? You know, I have to be ahead of the curve. I have to think. I have a background in artistry and creativity. I direct videos and produce and all of these other side projects, which will help better inform me while I'm in office. And I'm great at transferring my skills from selective areas that necessarily don't correlate with one another. In terms of creating awareness, I want to expound on that, because it's like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? It's like something that our current president would say, and you'd be like, no, that's bad, right? So what I mean by creating awareness is everybody's speaking about, job opportunities and building a better network, but there's a lot of things that are already here that are just not utilized. And I was in Club Row yesterday talking with a student, and he signed up to listservs, but he doesn't look at them. You know what I mean? So he's probably signed up to too many, or he signed up to listservs that don't speak to his interests. And so you have to know how to refine that. You have to be able to translate to each. Everybody speaks a different language. Most of us in here speak English. Some of us speak other languages, but you have to be able to speak to the heart of a person. That's one of my specialties. In terms of accountability, again, I spoke.
Thank you, Stephen.
Oh,
thank
you. Y'all slacking over
Short
there.
2 minutes. Okay, so I know that was really hard for you. So thank you all for enduring, and everyone that's been sitting in here, the general questions. Now we're gonna focus in on the questions that you all actually have for the candidates. Okay? Okay. So for the presidents, one of the first questions we have is, how do you plan on increasing student advocacy if elected president?
So how do you plan on increasing student advocacy? It's a tough question to answer, but I do have specific plans in mind. And one of the key things that I think will help, at least in the internal organization of council and how we branch out into other groups, is if we create a communications and marketing committee. We don't have anything that is similar to this in place already. We have an executive marketer, but our marketer solely focuses on the yearbook and creating flyers, but we need a team to actually work on this, and our street team is not efficient enough. We need to have more direct engagement with our student body. We did a Meet Your Reps campaign this year that honestly was a flop because we only did it on the social media. We didn't actually go out and talk to our reps or create an event around that. That was actually something I pitched to the e-board, to Roman specifically last year, but we didn't implement it, right? We didn't create an event during the first week of campus that let our reps go out and meet our students. And all we did was post our photos on social media. And that's something that I would really want to change going forward through the creation of this campaigning committee. Another thing that I think would be efficient is if we bring back something called the biweekly pen. This was a newsletter that Student Council used to run in 2012. And I think the fact that it's not in use right now is really sad because it works as a tool to target students specifically on the issues that Student Council mobilizes around. So I think that with proper planning, communication, and strategy, we can really reach out to students and get them to better advocate for the things that they care about, because they have voices too. One of the most gratifying experiences that I've had was actually going around talking to students during my presidential signature period, because when I told them the things that I was doing, they had opinions, and I want to bring those opinions to light through all of this.
Thank you.
Just to carry off on the first thing that my opponent has mentioned about the Meet Your Reps campaign and how she pitched her idea to the current vice president, but nothing has happened. I think it's really important that she would pitch the idea to the entire student council so that we would be more in communication with each other rather than just one person, because things can get lost with each other. And that's why communication is so important. I think awareness of situations is extremely important on campus, and I've attended certain events, right now there's Advocacy for Refugee Week, which is extremely important to many of our students, and I'm so glad that our student population is bringing that up right now. But speaking to students first, giving out surveys, doing polls is what's most important. How can you guys come to events? What is it that will draw you in, and how can we communicate to you more effectively? That way you can be present to advocate for the certain situations that you want to advocate for. We can't just try things out without knowing whether or not it's going to work, and our student body is the most important body that we have here to actually figure out how we can make change. And student council needs to work as a team together first. We need to take care of each other first and make sure that we're supporting each other. That way when we do go out there, we can go out there feeling really supported and feeling like we have each other's backs. And then because of that, we can go and support the backs of our students. And during my hours, I go above and beyond the 4 hours that are required by the charter. I do 12 hours a week, even more work on the weekends. But my favorite part of doing my hours is going out and speaking to the students and asking them what their issues are. And it's so interesting how students have such small issues that they think are too private or that they don't want to announce, but they can actually really be helped. And so talking to them is so important. And I don't just sit in the office all day and hide behind the doors and not bring myself out there to let students know that there are representatives that are out there for them and that we can be there for them. And all students should have immediate access to their representatives and their executives, and they should hold their representatives accountable for their promises that they make.
Thank you so much. Yes, you have 1 minute rebuttal. Would you like to rebut?
Yeah, please. So one of the things that my opponent said was that I should have pitched that idea to all of council. I would like to clarify. This was a conversation that we had before the vice president even took office. And I did bring it up again multiple times, and she said I should have pitched it to all of council. But before Jasmine came into the council, I didn't actually have a voice within council because, like I mentioned before, for the entire fall semester, not this year, but the year before, I wasn't actually involved because there was no space for me to be involved in. I was the first student council USS person to not also be a council rep. And so finding my own voice in all these voices that kept trying to shut me down or not let me speak was one of the biggest problems that I had personally. And these past 2 years have been a really big growing experience for me. And I lost my train of thought, but
okay.
next question.
That's okay, thank you. So now we actually have a very specific question for you, Devin. Are you ready? Okay, so the audience member wants to know that you claim to have fought for tuition freeze, but in 2016, they have receipts. We saw very little of you. How do you explain that? The second part is also Baruch's USSC, I believe, passed a resolution with USS, but you never brought one to John Jay. Why didn't you and Fatima encourage student council to also pass a resolution?
Okay.
I
2
can-
minutes.
2 minutes.
Okay. So, just to address this issue, I'm not the person who's trying to be in front of the camera. I'm going to be honest. I don't like cameras. But what I do is work. And so if you actually ask the people who are in charge of USS, I'm there every single time. If I can't make a borough hearing, I'm in constant communication to make sure they know that I'm trying to testify or that I'm trying to get my point across. And whether or not it's visually seen, I've gone to Albany this coming weekend. It will be my 5th time in Albany lobbying. And so to say that I haven't done anything for the tuition hike, which took place last year, I would encourage you to Google pictures, where I'm actually the entire time not only having helped organize the March and March across Brooklyn Bridge, I helped hold the microphone, the speakerphone, the entire way while Diana Richardson and other local and elected officials were screaming and chanting. That is something that I did. I also spoke and did a short, very little video clip speaking directly to Governor Cuomo to reinvest back in CUNY. As for the Baruch resolutions, I'm not exactly sure which one is pointed, if the audience member would like to clarify. But a lot of resolutions that we have here or that we get at USS, most of the time there's small errors or stipulations. And so we have to wait till everything's corrected. And then from there, every time that we have a student council meeting, the USS delegates provide a report, whether it's oral or written, and we make sure to let everyone know this is what we've been up to. And again, if you look through the meeting minutes for student council, you'll see that I've been giving out reports or that I've been announcing what I've been doing. Again, I think part of the problem is communication, and I'd like to stress that, to Fatima's point, up until last year, we never had a USS delegate who was not in student government. Last year, I had to lend her my drawer so we could have USS supplies in our office. And even now, when USS speaks, we're not given the respect that we deserved. A lot of individuals are not paying attention. And so if you look in the records, it's all there, what I've been doing.
Thank you. Okay.
So, both the candidate for vice president and president, Devin and Fatima, have mentioned that they show up to meetings and they're lobbying and they're going to protest, which I think is extremely important and really great. However, they're explaining how they're not inclusive with John Jay and they're fighting for more space at John Jay and for USS to be more represented on John Jay. But why is it that during the tuition freeze, Baruch was a school that posted flyers about the tuition all over the school, handed out petitions for people to sign things, and their own student government has made a petition, but John Jay hasn't? Why hasn't that been brought up to John Jay if you want John Jay to be so inclusive with USS? And how come John Jay itself didn't fight as hard as USS, as Baruch did for USS?
Thank you. Yes. 1 minute rebuttal.
So all due respect to that, we actually did post things around campus. We put things in all of the club mailboxes, and we advertise in all of the off John Jay, non-John Jay affiliated student groups on Facebook. We advertise all that stuff, and so I really don't know where this is coming from.
Thank you. So we will now try to move on from that question. Thank you all for being very honest. Okay. Specifically for Fatima and Jasmine, we have a question. How do you plan to advocate for communities you do not identify with?
So one of the things that Student Council did this year was, as Jasmine talked about, change the charter to be more inclusive of international and transfer students. One of the things that I particularly would love to see happen is the creation of student liaison positions to target those communities that we already don't have a good relationship with. So for example, we could have a veteran affairs student liaison, an athletic student liaison, a res life student liaison, someone who can be our contact person for that particular group, connect us to the departments and the communities on campus that interact with those groups, and really let us know or be an inside voice on those issues that we don't have an insight into. You know, I'm only one person, one student. The student council is more than just one person, but we still don't have a good link into those communities that we're not as aware of the issues that pertain to those communities, if that makes sense. Sorry,
Thank you.
I fell off.
I think when it comes to social justice, it's important to learn when you need to pass the mic, which means when you need to let groups represent themselves and realize what your privileges are in this school. I would never want to chair a committee that I had nothing to do with personally, and that a better student would be able to chair and represent their population. In regards to different populations on campus, we should find those strong leaders and allow them to represent them for themselves. I wouldn't want to take over just because I was the student council president and automatically be in charge of the students of the LGBTQ community, the students of the DACA community. Those students, there are very amazing students in every single sector within our community, and they can have the platform to strongly represent themselves. And as president, I would help them receive that platform to have their meetings and to speak more inclusively with student council and see what we can do for them, because there are so many populations on campus, and I can't just represent every single person because I'm the president of student council. And I think that's what's really important, learning when you need to pass the mic.
Thank you. We have a 1-minute rebuttal.
Yes, so that's exactly what I mean by the creation of these student liaison positions. They would be with community members that are in the communities, not me or not the student council president, so that those people can actually come together with their community groups and be the strong leaders that they want to be. Just clarity's sake.
I just want to big up the last thing that Jasmine said, because I just learned something sitting right here behind this table. So I appreciate you saying that.
Okay. I actually have a follow-up question for Jasmine, actually. When you stated that you are not as comfortable in being inserted in a community that you do not necessarily identify with, can you please clarify what you meant?
Yeah,
'cause
absolutely.
It kind of, we just want the audience to be clear on you not saying, because I don't identify with LGBTQ+, I would not be inserted in that community. So just
Absolutely. I think there was a miscommunication. I have represented for these different communities around the school already so far by showing up to their events and by being supportive of them, which was what I could do from my end. And I would always be involved in these communities. For instance, I was a part of helping the undocumented students get their own peer programming with DACA students, with Nancy Yang and Javar Duffus, and also with the Homelessness Initiative. I worked personally with Kadeem Robinson as well, who's the Secretary of Student Council. So although I might not personally identify with them, with these certain communities, it doesn't mean that I would not want to be a part of their communities. I just would never want to be a spearhead of these communities, because there are stronger voices that really understand the situations that they're dealing with deeply, and they will be really good advocates. And it's so important to have their voices out and represented on campus, which is top priority.
Thank you so much. Okay. The next question we have is actually for the secretary positions, and we want to know, what does justice mean for you? So what is justice in your own interpretation?
Do you want to go first?
Nah, you go first.
All right. Justice to me is a right doing. Justice to me, like, as you know, the negation of wrongdoing. Justice to me is, there's a playing field. There are certain people that are above that playing field. There are, to be honest, cisgender, white, straight men that are kind of up here. Justice to me is equality. Justice to me is representation. Justice to me is all these wonderful, like, I look around this room and I'm like, oh my God, because there's so much difference. And justice to me is the unity of that difference so that this and this becomes this. That's all that justice is to me, really. And yeah.
Thank you.
Wait, give me a second. Okay. Okay, so my name is Maria Jose, aka MJ. What is justice? The person who asked that question, you spiteful, you smart. Honestly, I'm gonna put all jokes aside. Justice is a hard word to define, period. What I might think is justice for myself may not be the same way you define it, but like she said, it's a variety and it's a combination of a lot of things. It could be equality. It could be speaking up for something that you believe in. It could be just helping a person that you feel is underrepresented. It's a lot of things. It's about sometimes fighting battles that may not even be yours. It comes within a lot of things. It's a hard question to answer. Honestly, I still have a lot to learn within the context itself. And if you guys are willing to help me understand what justice is, I will be highly appreciated, because yes, we are in a school for justice and we are fair advocates for justice, but what is really justice if we're not spreading it around our community? Like, I just don't know how to explain it. So, but thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. Really good answers. So we're going to try to take a few more questions because time is getting a little, limited. So, okay, so I'll try to get to as many questions as I can. Thank you. Okay, hold your accountable. Okay. So I think this is a really good question, and we can kind of just go along the lines of whoever would like to answer it. And I think we even have these general questions about our general political policymakers. So the question is, how will us students hold you accountable post-elections for all the things you promised to bring today?
I'll take the lead on that. My Facebook, Stephen Pacheco, STEVEN, PACHECO. Respectability politics is something that I don't necessarily get along with too well, but I understand the importance of being diplomatic, especially when you're in a position where you're representing an entire population. I'm heavily active on my Facebook. And I'm very similar to Devin, where I don't necessarily like to be in front of the camera. However, the camera continuously seems to find me. So what I don't like doing is talking so much. So you can go on my Facebook page. I would tell you my Instagram, but I'm in the process of shifting that over to a little more politically correct platform. You can go on my Twitter. This one is actually strictly professional, Mr. Stephen Pacheco, and that's MrStevenPacheco. You can start holding me accountable now. Like, I honestly want to hear what you have to say as far as like what you want for the next academic year, and even right now, so start right now.
This is definitely a good question. I love this question. My platform is based on a four-letter word, hope. And I broke it down, honesty, organization, progression, and efficiency. And part of that is being transparent. Again, I want a website for student council that goes, hey, here's all our meeting dates. Here's every single thing that we are doing as a live update. Every day we will update it to say this is where we are in this event. This is where we are in this initiative. Here are all our meeting minutes. Here's every single resolution we pass, every single thing that you will need to hold us accountable. And honestly, the best thing to do is to come to our student council meetings. Unfortunately, they're not really advertised that much. But when you go there, you don't get a vote, but you get to say whatever you need to. And if you can't say it yourself, you could speak through your representatives to make sure that this is a problem that's heard. So holding us accountable is easy. It's just student council in the past has not done a good job. Again, as Fatima said, bringing back the bi-weekly pen. It's efficient. We could have all this news that maybe we can't get from the Sentinel within that matter of time, but we could do it ourselves and update our website, update the bi-weekly pen, and make sure that students know what we're doing. Again, there was a question about what we were doing last year for the tuition freeze. If you weren't, in student council, you might not have seen how crazy we were looking, running around with a bunch of pins and red pamphlets. But I guarantee you, if you look on our Facebook, if you look on just anywhere in John Jay within USS, we had the March and March. We had all these pamphlets. We had everything that a student could possibly want. And if you want to keep us accountable, visit our office. It's open. We got microwaves. Come in and talk to us. That's what we're there for.
Thank you.
So I finally get to talk now. So to add on to what Devin was saying, how you can hold us accountable. We have all these documents, we record everything in our student council meetings. Like, how many of you guys know that you can sit in our student council meetings? And how many of you guys know that you can view the budget? Like, do you know that you can see what we're spending on, the events that reps are holding, or the collaboration events that we're having? Many students do not know that you guys have access to all of this, to meetings, to the budget. And so one of my goals, if selected as treasurer, is to make it known that students are allowed to sit in meetings, that they are allowed to voice their own opinions. Because as student council, we're here to represent students. But I think it's really important that students are able to represent themselves, because we are their voice, but they can use their voice as well. And that's by, coming to the meetings, coming to these different events, speaking, because students don't necessarily need to have a leader position. Because once they share their opinions, once they share their concerns, their stories, once their stories are heard throughout campus, they're already becoming student leaders. So, as with accountability, it's all based on knowing what we as council are doing, what our plans are. And, as Evan said, come into the office. We encourage students to bring up their concerns. We encourage students to, call us out on something that we're not doing right and make it the best accommodation for everyone.
Thank you. We just need to move on to the next candidate.
I just wanted to know where they could find that stuff, if she could say it.
Can you speak into the microphone?
I just wanted to know if Melinda would care to share how they could find out all the information you said that's public access, like where is it, or?
I mean, you guys can always walk, as I was saying before, walk into student council and ask. If you don't ask, how should we know that we can provide all of this for you? Because we do have a student council drive that, with council members that, we share of what we have available. And so all you got to do is simply ask.
Okay, thank you. Jasmine?
I definitely think that we need to advertise the things that we are doing more so that students are more well aware of what we're doing, not just during election times, but throughout the whole year. But I think what's most important is to hold us accountable is ask us for our specific goals, and not broad range goals that are change or social justice, because you can't hold someone technically accountable for that because they don't have an actual agenda where they say, I'm going to be doing A, B, and C. So when someone has specific plans, whether or not those specific plans are executed or not, that's how you can hold them accountable. Sure, sometimes the plans will not work out well. They might fail. There might not be enough money to do it. But just seeing the progress on that. And that's what I've been doing this year as a sophomore representative. And you can hold me accountable for all the actions that I've taken this year. I'm welcoming anyone to ask me any questions about what I've done. I wouldn't have to even hesitate. And holding someone accountable by the promises that they're making now throughout the entire year, not just towards the end of the year, and really catching up on them and making sure that you know who they are and what they're doing is the most important thing.
Thank you.
So Stephen asked a very good question about where you can find all this information. That's the thing. Like, as far as just asking goes, there's no other way to access those records right now, and they are supposed to be public records. So having a website for Student Council will make it easier to actually hold members accountable through direct access of the minutes without even having to ask. You talk about accountability. Well, for the past year now, I've actually been advocating for our voting records at USS to go onto their website, because for the past year now they haven't been. And finally, after putting in an actual formal request, after multiple in the past, they've decided to put them up. So if you want to see what exactly I voted on, you can do so on our website. As for holding me personally accountable, if there is anything that I've done in the past 2 years that you don't agree with, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook.
Thank you.
Hi. So again, for the stream and stuff, my name is Karen, and I'm running to be secretary. Yeah, the whole thing of all the information is accessible if you ask, but not readily. It's not given to you. You have to look for it. Okay, like that's a thing, but I think that yeah, exactly, because it's like, there is something to say, not all students are like us. I look around and I see a lot of club executives. I see a lot of people like that. We're very go-getter type of people. You know, from a while we were taught leadership and all of these things and to chase after what you want. But what about the shyer students, you know? What about students that don't necessarily want to go and talk to someone? Because that's scary to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. That's something that, you know, give them this information. Don't tell them to go look for it. But yeah, a way to hold me accountable, honestly, my cell phone, like everything except like save like my address, but if you want it, like I'll give it to you, and like my social and stuff is all in my email signature. Like I give everyone my cell phone. I'm like, no, contact me. Because there are certain things, especially when people are excited about them, and you get people all riled up, and you're like, I want this change, I want to do this, and then they can't contact you because they're seeing no moves being made. So some of the moves that I specifically want to be made that I didn't necessarily get to talk to you throughout this is I want a much deeper bond between professors and students, and faculty and students. There are times when you feel that a professor is being unfair to you, and you feel like you could be doing better in this class, but reaching out to them is weird because they come off horribly, to be honest, some professors. There's a lot of great professors though, but still, I want some sort of committee that like strengthens those ties, because that is so important, because these are the people that are literally in charge of our academic future, and that's horrifying. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna just stay standing. My name is Maria Jose MJ. I'm running for secretary. How will I be held accountable? I honestly don't like letting people down. I don't like to fail, even though it's not really failing. It's always a lesson learned. I'm always open to criticism and always open to being corrected, because I am a work in progress. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. And feel like that's the most important thing. I am a woman of color, and I always try to follow what I say. Basically saying, what type of person would I be if I promise a bunch of things that I really can't push up or like follow or like promise. So I want to be the same person walking into student council if given the opportunity, and the same person be walking out, but with better opportunities, wonderful experiences, and better networking relationships. So if you want to hold me accountable, please let me know via text, via phone, and I'm always on campus. Be like, hey MJ, listen, I'm a work in progress, and I'm always open to new ideas and new things. I am a person that takes criticism up to its highest because, like I said, we're always open to change, and I am a work in progress.
Thank you all for answering the questions. Due to our time constraints, we will wrap that up, the question portion of the debate. For all the other people that did submit questions, we'll try to get those answered at tomorrow's debate. So, at this moment, candidates will have 1 minute each to have their closing remarks and just reiterate whatever they want you to remember about themselves. So we can actually start with Maria Jose.
Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Maria Jose, aka MJ. I'm currently a criminology major, minor in psychology. I'm hoping to become your secretary on the executive board for student government. I am the major part of student council that is left unnoticed is the organization behind everything that secretaries do. I feel that I am thoroughly capable of becoming I'm capable of being responsible, and secretaries also need to have sharp intellectual skills, time management abilities, and high skills in organization, which I feel like I have to offer. So thank you. Show them your planner. Oh, wait.
It's a really cute planner.
Wait. This is my planner.
Are you kidding?
All right.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Karen. I'm still Karen. So strange. John Jay students deserve someone who will listen to them and be real with them and work with them for what they need, because this person believes that the experience of all students is of utmost importance. Veteran students, trans students, non-binary students, students of low-income communities, previously incarcerated students. Like, excuse me? Sorry, but it gets me so mad because there is so much to be represented, so many special groups to be represented. And I'm like, but yeah. My decision to run for Secretary of Student Council stemmed from wanting to broaden what I have created with the Mock Trial Association. My executives are actually in the audience right now, and it's really cool. And spreading it throughout the John Jay population. As I've gone around John Jay asking students what their experience at this school has been and what they wish to have and to improve it, the general consensus would be the same, is that our students want this to be a positive stepping stone to their futures, whatever those futures might hold. And I feel that I can be a pathway to that. In addition, because JK. Pink
Thank
slip.
you, Karen.
Yeah, there's like a pink sign that's like,
So I know everyone is rushing to go out, so I will only close with one thing. Obviously, these are debates, so you don't get to actually hear everything that are in all of our brains. But I did just get approval for the launch of my campaign website, so I hope that you guys do check it out. It is my name, FATIME 2017.tumblr.com. You can see all of the different things that have been swirling in my brain and ask me about them tomorrow if you'd like, or in the future as you're going through this campaign process.
Once again, hi, my name is Jasmine Awad, and I'm running to be your student council president. The debates were really able to show some of our true colors and what we really want, and that I can be a candidate that you can rely on. I've been able to honestly explain the plans that I've executed and choose to execute. I've provided representation for 600 plus international students, reached out to students with John Jay Speaks and Club Rose Speaks, chaired this club planning committee, sat on the UCAS College Council with President Travis, closely worked with every executive of Student Council, and voiced out concerns beyond my obligations of town hall meetings and worked beyond charter requirements. You say that accountability is important, and I agree with you. So please, I encourage you to go to any student council member or student council executive and ask them about what I've done and what I choose to do, and I'm sure that they will give you positive remarks. I went out there to students to talk about, to continue talk about things. And although I've only been here for a semester and a half, I've done more than some students have been able to do in 2 years in regards to spearheading projects. I haven't gotten the chance to talk about the things that I want to do, but to be really quick, I don't want administration to hold us back. I want to bring back the A+ policy, make pads and tampons more inclusive, and bring out mental health awareness. I'm an Egyptian woman who feels safe and comfortable on this campus, and you should too, so follow actions and not words.
Thank you.
Again, my name's Melinda, and I am running as your student council treasurer. Not only am I the treasurer for Socially Awkward and a SAS peer success coach, but I'm also a member of the committee on budget. So that means I work closely with the treasurer, and I've been on that committee for the past 2 years, officially and unofficially. Unofficially when I was just a committee member, and during my sophomore year, and officially during my junior year, which I had the chance to become junior rep. And going from junior rep to a treasurer position, and that's a huge step for me. And I do know all the budget paperwork. I'm very familiar with it, and I know it's not easy work, which is why I'm gonna need a team to help me along. It's not only gonna be me working on this budget, passing budgets, denying budgets. It's a team, and so I want to be able to work with more people and obviously spread more awareness to students so that they know of all these opportunities.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Devin Lee, and I'm running for vice president. The person that you saw here today at the debate is the real me. If you come to our office and you want to talk to us or you want to talk to me, this is who I am. But I want to be even more real for a second. There's only 3 people on this panel who have had more than this term's experience in student council. And so to say that they understand how student council functions, you need to understand when it's at its best and when it's at its worst. And we've had to go through that journey together, and we understand how critical it is. Now, just to be even more real, I have a mother who is disabled who's watching this stream, hello, who I've had to sacrifice time with, taking care of, to be here to do work. And I've done this for 3 years. 3 years I've had to make sacrifices for this college, and I am proud of every single student who has graduated, who is here, who has struggled, because every single day that I get to talk to those same individuals, they're growing, and if they're struggling, I want to help them. So please, let me continue that work like I've been, and if you have any questions, our office is on L269. Come by, I'm there almost every day.
Thank you.
So Devin brings a good point. Again, Stephen Pacheco, running for vice president of student council. I've seen the worst of life and the best of life, and that's just in a general sense. So that makes me very confident coming into student council, regardless if I've had any formal involvement or not. I just want to give y'all something concrete to follow. I was recently awarded a scholarship to the 2017 Othering and Belonging Conference, which takes place in Oakland, California. It's put on by the Haas Institute. It's an extension of UC Berkeley, and the conference pretty much does exactly what the name says. It brings together a community of artists, advocates, researchers, policymakers, all kinds of stakeholders to basically more deeply interrogate what is othering and belonging. And there's actually a science to this stuff. So I'll be going out there from April 30th to May 5th. The conference takes place from April 30th to May 2nd. So I plan to come back, regardless if I get my position or not, and implementing all of that stuff and bringing all of that back to John Jay. So that's what you can look forward to with me. Thank you.
Thank you all. At this time, we would like to thank each and every one of the candidates for coming out and giving you a glimpse into their lives and their policies. And also thank you, audience, for being here and for your questions and everything else. The entire time. Okay, so at this time, the 2017, the first debate has now concluded, and just remember, if you submitted a question, we will try to get to it tomorrow. The next debate, which is tomorrow, starts from 5 to 7, and it will be in this room. Okay? Thank you all for coming out, and enjoy the rest of your day.